Welcome, Karl, to this episode of Interviews with the Experts from Centro de Poder. Let me introduce you to our audience. You have a bachelor's degree in religious studies from Naropa, and you studied advanced Buddhist teachings with a focus on Tantra. So please tell us a little bit about how was the first moment that led you to study Buddhism to this depth and focus on Tantra, and what keeps you motivated to do your practice and your teachings and these sharings.
Wonderful. First of all, thank you for having me on. It's an honor to be a part of your group. I'm very happy to be here. I became involved with Buddhism when I was at college in England. I actually was there first, studying and exploring things, and life was kind of typical for a young man. Mostly pubs, mostly football matches, that kind of thing. And it was, it had its fun. But I sort of, intervention, divine, I don't know. I came across the Dalai Lama's images in magazines and books and videos, and I started to bring those things home to the parties we were having. So all the young men are still partying, drinking, having fun, doing their thing, but I'm putting on Dalai Lama videos in the apartment, and they thought I was very strange. But I just noticed that this guy was completely happy and really sane and really joyful, and he wasn't going about it through the traditional means. So I didn't really see a future for myself staying in that channel I was on at that time as a young man in England. And so that was my first sort of blessing, or being hooked by the compassion of the Dalai Lama to come onto the path. That there's this other, thing going on. You should check it out. And from there, I just was sort of sold. I went all over in Florida, United States. I met a wonderful teacher called Geshe-la, and then he sent me to meet the Dalai Lama in India at the Dalai Lama's monastery. So I was able to study with him there, and just one thing after another. And so I had all the typical issues that arise of being confused, being in over my head with these teachings, not really knowing which side is up. I just knew in my heart that it's what I wanted, that it was calling to me something true that was beyond mere materialism or vanity or distraction. It was something true. So that inspired me deeply.
Wonderful. Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about the mind and the body? Are those separate things? Are those the same thing? How do you approach it in your practice in meditation? How you live it in yourself?
Beautiful question. Thank you. Yes, it's defined differently at different stages in Buddhist practice. At first, mind and body are somewhat separate, but in the end, they are not. And so we deal with different layers of body, different layers of mind as we progress through the trainings. So in my meditation, some things I'll do one at a time. First, I cultivate this with the mind. First, I cultivate this with the body. But in other meditations, it's one thing. The body and mind are one thing, would have two faces.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little bit about those experiences that integrate mind and body? Does it has to do with the experience of embodiment?
Yes. Yeah, that's if most of the time it seems the mind is not where the body is. So people are suffering because the mind is far away and the body is somewhere else.
Yes.
And so we do so many different types of practices, from breath work to prostrations to more yogic, typical yogic type asana things, to try to bring them to the same place at the same time. That's kind of a general picture of it.
Embodiment, to become present.
Yeah. Why not?
And tell us more about this idea that may be like mythical of enlightenment. What enlightenment is that only for the saints or super advanced practitioners, or it's something that it's handy for everyone else? Is it a state that we already have? Tell us a little bit about it.
Excellent. Yes. In one term that's used is called Vajradharahood, which means the embrace of primordial unity, the primordial unity of body and mind on these layers we've discussed, from gross to subtle to extremely subtle. So enlightenment is somebody who has achieved and is a holder of primordial unity of body and mind. And when we bring this word primordial in, we mean transcendent and powerful, not merely just the gross level of body or the gross level of mind, but at the very most fundamental part of the human being is this sort of marriage, is this sort of unity of body and mind. And so someone who has stabilized that is called enlightened.
Okay, so that's our, at the core of our essence. And
yes.
And how does that feel?
Well, we can taste it, we can all, the Buddhas will say someone who she is fully awake, and that means she's like finished the job. We can taste it kind of, a little bit here, a little bit there. And so when you taste that feeling, one of the hallmarks is space. That you're no longer on a crowded, busy city, traffic in Mexico City. Your mind is not like that anymore. You're more like on the beach in, I don't know, Yucatan or something.
On your inner private beach.
Yeah, something like that.
You have your inner Tulum, and from there you move.
Yeah, you clear up a lot of junk inside and a lot of pollution inside that comes from being divided. And by becoming unified, you clear up that space. So that's one of the experiences that comes when we taste our true nature, is openness, lack of obstruction. And it's not, that's half, that will be half of it. It's not the whole. Because in Buddhism, we talk a lot about, like space as wisdom, but then also compassion or bliss or ecstatic. That there's this relational, energetic quality to enlightenment as well. It's not merely that we've disappeared into a space and things are awesome now because we don't have to go to work.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that. That's just one of the things. When ego is penetrated and broken free from, then what remains is the natural state of mind.
The natural state of mind that can be experienced in Mexico City.
Absolutely.
That's very interesting. So you don't need to go far away on a retreat and cut away your love life, but you can live like an enlightenment life and in connection with yourself wherever you are, in whatever circumstance. And what is very interesting is that you talk about openness. And now if I think on openness here in the corner of Eje 3 axis and Insurgentes Avenues, like what would happen to me if I open? Maybe I would get polluted with the state of the minds of the traffic and everything. But now I get a different feeling that it's possible that spaciousness, that is not maybe an imposition of the inner state to the outside, but another relation.
Yes, I love this. This is very important. The highest pilgrimage is the pilgrimage of the body. So we go on the external pilgrimage to the pyramids and the sacred sites around Mexico because it inspires us, gives us faith, and opens our hearts. But it's like a support for the actual pilgrimage, which is the body. So you could be in Mexico City at the Zocalo, and you could be completely enlightened. You could be a Buddha. And it makes no difference. The external aspect is not playing a role because you conquered the inner traffic around. And so, when Lord Buddha became enlightened, he lived another 40 years on this earth, walking around and doing things. So he didn't disappear. So it means, okay, even in India or even in, difficult places where he was going, he was still enlightened. It wasn't affected.
Very, very interesting. I want to add a reflection from Joseph Pilates. He wrote 2 very small essays. One was called Your Health, and the other one was like a repertoire of mat exercises called Return to Life Through Contrology. And his approach was very valuable, at least for me, because it was a journey back to yourself, a journey back to your essence, like not striving for external attainment through adding more layers and more stuff, but like varying the layers imposed or shells that you use to like defend yourself to the very essence that it's very strong. And that I connect that feeling with the feeling of openness, that it's a vulnerability, but vulnerability can also be a place of strength, because it's to my feeling it's a starting point of real interaction with reality.
Mm-hmm.
So can you tell us a little bit more about the mind body connection, like do you have like a practical tool or image or insight that could help our audience to connect, like to notice how are they thinking, or if they are spacious or not, and like something so they can have a taste of this that we're talking about?
Yeah, sometimes we think of it as like a horse and the rider of the horse. And so you can break that analogy in many ways, but for here, let's just say that, there's body and mind, horse and rider. And so throughout the day, when you feel disjointed or discombobulated, thinking, oh, I've fallen off the horse of the body-mind connection. I need to try to synchronize myself again, because I just got thrown off by this horse. And so, you could do different exercises to bring yourself back. Basic mindfulnesses of like paying attention to the feet. Often it depends on the psyche. If somebody is more manic or if somebody is more depressed.
Okay.
But let's just take more manic in this case, where agitated, which happens very often. And so if you're just sitting there, you can contemplate the soles of your feet and how they, touch the floor. And what does it feel like underneath the soles of your feet? You can do that while seated, or you can do that while walking, like a Zen walking in a more slow and deliberate fashion, and putting all of your awareness there. So I'm sure it's the same for much of your body work, that the Buddhist body work, you're trying to be inside of that part of the body as you do the body work. So it's not that you're looking from your head at the feet or looking at your head at the torso or anything. It's that your mind has sunk inside of the torso or the feet, and you're now experiencing reality from there.
Your mind has sunk into the body, and now you're experiencing reality from there. That's wonderful, Karl. Yeah. That's wonderful. Yeah, embodiment, like really get into the body.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Thank you so much. How can they reach you if they want to learn more about your work, more about Buddhist teachings, Tantra, embodiment?
Oh yeah, we have a website, and we have an online class. The website is continuityinstitute.org. And from there you can get the information. You can write to us from there.
And you have a profile in social media, a page?
Or
Instagram?
We have an Instagram page called Continuity San Diego.
Continuity San Diego. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Karl. It's been a real pleasure talking to you and listening this wonderful knowledge that you have.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.